We know you made the announcement outside of an Atlantic City Target. So what action exactly are you calling for from the government and from these companies?
Well, what we've done is written to the Federal Trade Commission chair and asked her, number one, what are they doing about Target's breach? And secondly, do they have the full authorities under the law to enforce ensuring that companies are living to the highest standards in terms of their security systems, so that in fact data breaches are less likely to take place and customers' personal identity information is protected. Because in 2006, in another incident with Marshall and TJ Maxx, they ultimately entered into a settlement agreement with them, but they didn't have any fines or penalties. And I think that may be necessary, if they don't have it under the law, to provide them with that option so that they can ultimately send a very clear message to the industry that you have to live up to the highest standards to protect your customers.
So accountability is one thing, Senator, but are you suggesting at all that Target was negligent here?
Well, we don't know, and we're going to find out. That's why we wrote to the Federal Trade Commission to find out, exactly what happened. That's why there are a couple of attorney generals, and about 4 of them from different states, looking at the whole issue. That's why I know they're also, the Justice Department is also engaged to find out who were the hackers. But ultimately, I think we also have to determine what's the standard here. And did Target and do other companies, are they reaching the highest standard they can to ensure that millions of customers across the country, that their personal identity information is secured? This is 40 million. That's about 13% of the American population. That's a pretty big breadth of a security breach, and we'll find out whether Target lived up to the highest standards or not. And if they didn't, then we need to send, I think, a message that all companies, including Target and others, need to reach that high standard.
I don't think anyone disputes, Senator, it's a major breach. I mean, the second biggest in the history of retailing. But with the DOJ, with the Senate, with the Secret Service, with private lawsuits, when does it become a pile-on, if at all?
Well, look, first of all, I think that the DOJ and the Secret Service, they're working with Target to figure out who are the hackers, and certainly we want to bring those people to justice. I'm not quite sure that they're looking at Target's standard. That's why the Federal Trade Commission, I think, is more appropriate to look at what is the standard that Target applied. Private suits, those can always be had, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure if Target ultimately had the highest standards, then fine, they'll be able to defend themselves against any actions. If they didn't, then we need to have a clear standard set for the industry, not just Target, but for the industry of what is expected of them. And what is the standard that should be applied to ensure the security in this ever-growing dynamic of data information as a form of doing business. We need to make sure that that cybersecurity is of the highest order.